If you'd like to talk about combat sports and you want to join the discussion, click the subscribe button below and the bell notification icon next to it and join Knucklehead Nation. What's going on, Knuckleheads? Thank you so much for joining me for another live chat. Today we're going to be talking about Anthony Joshua's mindset ahead of this Andy Ruiz rematch that's going down on Saturday. The most anticipated heavyweight bout of the year and probably one of the most anticipated and important heavyweight bouts in recent history. That's right, this is going to be the big one. This is going to be the one to determine who the man is with the most belts in the heavyweight division. And as we continue our heavyweight countdown, I thought it was really important to get another angle. I thought it was important to analyze and study another angle of this fight, an angle of the fight that I think is probably the most important angle of the fight, and that is the mentality and the mindset of Anthony Joshua. A lot of people believe that Anthony Joshua broke in the first fight. They believe he gave up. They believe that there was something wrong with him ahead of the fight and during the fight. And he was acting a bit aloof and a bit strange in the lead up to the fight as he walked out to the ring. When he was in the ring chewing on his gum shield, he just seemed a bit off. But it looks like he's gone back, he's regrouped, he's worked hard in sparring. I don't think Anthony Joshua reaching the pinnacle of the fight game was a mistake. I do think he's a special guy, and I do think that he does have the ability to regroup, come back, and win this fight against Andy Ruiz. And I actually have him as the slight favorite, and it looks like the bookies also have him as a slight favorite. But that being said, I thought it was really important to get somebody who I believe is an expert with regards to mentality and mindset in the field of combat sports. And I think it's none other than Chad the Savage George. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to give Chad a call now. I'm going to get him on the show so we can talk to him and kind of pick his brain and get him to kind of let us know what it takes for a combat sports athlete like Anthony Joshua and like himself to sort of pick themselves up, dust themselves off, and get back in there, and just to see if Chad thinks that this is something that Anthony Joshua is going to be able to do. So just give me 1 second as I get Chad on the call here.
Hello.
What's going on, brother? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Appreciate you joining me, my man. We are live, just so you know, so you don't say anything crazy, but thank you for joining the show. Chad George, ladies and gentlemen.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. How are you doing? Where are you headed right now?
I'm doing good. I'm just driving in the wonderful Los Angeles evening traffic and trying not to lose my mind out here.
Gotta love it, brother. Gotta love it. Speaking of mind, the reason I wanted you on the podcast today, Chad, was I wanted to discuss the mindset of Anthony Joshua heading into this Andy Ruiz rematch on Saturday in Saudi Arabia, of all places. I wanted to get your take on it, Chad, because you are very big on mindset. You're very big on motivational speaking and strengthening your fighters' mindsets, people around you's mindset. You know, you're very much into that field, and I see it on all your social media stuff. So I appreciate your time doing this with me here, Chad. So,
Yeah, no problem. Go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah. So, I'm sure you watched the first fight, and a lot of people think that Anthony Joshua quit in that fight. First and foremost, I kind of wanted your opinion on whether you thought Anthony Joshua quit in that first fight against Andy Ruiz.
Well, I think it goes a little bit deeper than did he just quit. There was a whole series of events that led up to it. But I personally believe that he got hit with a lot of things in that fight that were much more than the blows that Ruiz landed. He had to deal with adversity that he had never felt before. He had to deal with a guy that just kept coming, that you could see that when he saw Joshua hurt, that he believed he could beat him. And he had to deal with a lot of the emotions of like, man, I've never been knocked down. Man, I've never been hurt. Man, I've never dealt with a guy that's smelling blood on me. So, I mean, there was a lot of stuff that went into play in that fight, and I think it was a combination of things that all led up to what happened.
He was a guy who won Olympic gold, and in I believe just 16 pro fights was already challenging for a title and winning a title. He won multiple titles. He had three of the big, basically the main alphabet belts, other than the one that Deontay Wilder has, the WBC belt. He's a guy that had seen unparalleled success in boxing. He was filling out 80, 90,000 person soccer stadiums out in the UK. This was supposed to be his big homecoming. To come to Madison Square Garden and to become essentially this era's Lennox Lewis, the man in the heavyweight division. What kind of effect do you think that a fall from grace like the one he had against a guy that looks especially like Andy Ruiz? That's not to say Andy Ruiz can't fight, but, for the casual observer especially, they see a guy like that. They see you lose to a guy like that. It's embarrassing, So, I mean, what kind of effect do you think this had on him, mentally speaking, this sort of fall from grace? He was at the very top and plunged seemingly to the very bottom.
Well, I think the bigger issue is that maybe Joshua fell in line with the rest of media that just didn't give Ruiz a chance. I mean, this is a guy, you have to actually look at his mindset. This is a man who went into this fight with absolutely nothing to lose. He was gaining on all levels of this, and he went in there, and realistically, this was a Rocky story. He went in there and fought Apollo Creed, and there was no downside for him. And he came out and he showed that this kid can box. I mean, Ruiz can box, man.
Yeah.
People didn't really give that guy an understanding. Like, if you watch his fight, if you watch him train, that kid can box. He may look like a little fluffy when he's in there, and he looks like a happy, jolly fat kid. But he can fight, and you really saw it once he smelled blood on Joshua. I mean, the difference of a fighter that he was in those first 2 rounds when he was trying to get it going to when he smelled blood, you could really see what kind of a fighter he really was when he turned it on. So when we're talking about Joshua doing a fall from grace, it's going to be really interesting because we're going to see if he really is this champion material, not just because of the accolades that he has, but it's overcoming the adversity. And one thing I always talk about to my athletes about is that a real champion is not made with what you do when things are going well. A real champion is made when you overcome the things that you don't want to overcome and you face the demons that are standing in front of you. And we're going to see what happens in this fight because this is a huge fight for both of them. Again, Ruiz has nothing to lose. He's finally getting these giant paydays. And so he doesn't care if he wins and loses. Obviously he wants to so he can prove that it wasn't a fluke. But, I mean, he's getting paid. So Joshua has to go in there and he's got to fight a guy again that has nothing to lose. And Joshua really is the one that has everything to lose with this.
Yeah, and I love that. I love that point of view. I love your perspective, Chad. And another thing about this fight to me is it's so fascinating in that it's in totally uncharted territory. I mean, we've never seen anything like this. First off, people were comparing that upset to Mike Tyson versus Buster Douglas. I mean, would you say it was about at that level, that Mike Tyson Buster Douglas upset level?
Well, I mean, absolutely. That's what I'm saying. Like it was exactly on that same level. It was exactly, and I know this is a movie, but this was Rocky versus Apollo Creed, the first film. You know, where even though Rocky lost, he won the crowd over because he did something nobody else had ever done. And when you're talking Buster Douglas and Tyson, I mean, it's the same thing. There's no difference in that storyline.
I almost feel like it's more devastating than even Rocky, you know, which was a movie, or the Buster Douglas thing, because, again, I mean, you had this Olympic champion with this incredible promotional machine.
I'm going to cut you off real quick, because here's my reasoning for bringing up Rocky. What the point of that story is that anybody can be Rocky. That's the point of that story, is that anybody has that ability. Anybody can turn it on. If it's your night and not your opponent's night, if you show up and they don't show up, anybody can be Rocky.
You know, that's extremely interesting and coincidental that you say that, because DAZN actually hired, I believe, Sylvester Stallone to do a one-night documentary on the fight, and it's on YouTube, and it's fantastic. I really think you should check it out.
I saw it.
You saw it?
Yeah.
Dude, I absolutely agree. I think it was the ultimate Rocky story. I thought it was incredible what Andy Ruiz was able to do. You know, as a hardcore boxing fan, which I do consider myself hardcore, I knew about Andy Ruiz. And the only loss he ever had on his record, I thought, was a fight that he actually won against Joseph Parker. You know, so I wasn't looking at this fight the way other people were looking at it, but I thought Joshua was just going to run right through him regardless. You know what I mean? It turned out not to be the case. What do you think it is about maybe Andy Ruiz's makeup that allowed him to do what he did that night? Or was it more attributable to Joshua making a mistake?
I think it was a combination. Joshua made a mistake, and Ruiz just went into that fight knowing that I have nothing to lose, and why not me?
Yeah. What mistake? Go ahead.
What?
Well, I wanted to ask you what mistake you thought Joshua made, because for me, I thought after he knocked Ruiz down, he shouldn't have closed the distance.
Yeah, that's pretty much what everybody talks about, right? Like, when he kept long and he stayed on his jab, Ruiz couldn't touch him. He could have Klitschko'd him all the way to the 12th round if he wanted to, and just stayed on that jab, stayed on those wheels, and he would have just picked him apart the whole way. Well, the problem is he started letting him get inside. He stopped respecting Ruiz's power. And then when Ruiz finally touched him, it was that one shot that did clip him a little bit on the temple, behind the head a bit. And everything changed after that point. He recovered as the fight went on, but I don't think his legs ever fully recovered.
Yeah, that's what it looked like to me as well. So now, you know, like I said, we're heading into uncharted territory. They're going to Saudi Arabia to do this fight. There's the who's who of heavyweights and heavyweight prospects that are fighting on the undercard, basically outside of Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury. He's in a strange place in Saudi Arabia. It is not the UK. He's away from home again. What do you think is running through this guy's mind right now?
You got to remember, when he fought in the Olympics, he's no stranger from fighting away from home. He's just had a away from home stint as he's been a pro, because he's been building his fan base in the UK. I really don't think it's going to play any role when he goes over there.
And what do you think his mindset is, you know, having lost in the fashion he lost in? Because it was, I mean, honestly speaking, Chad, it looked like a traumatic, that was a traumatic loss, my man. I mean, does it take a special person to recover from that kind of loss, or can anybody just recover from that sort of loss? I mean, what do you think about that?
I truly believe anybody can come back from that. The difference is how much are you willing to let yourself get over it. That's really what it is. And then when the trial by fire hits you in the fight, 'cause it's going to hit you, how much are you willing to not listen to that voice that says, "Oh, shit, you did it again"?
If you're his coach right now, if you're Robert McCracken, what are you telling this guy? Because you've obviously dealt with this situation not only personally as a fighter but as a coach to many fighters. What do you tell a guy who took such a devastating loss and is going back in there to fight the same guy that did this to him?
You ready? You ready for the simple answer?
Yes.
That shit was yesterday. I don't want to hear about it again.
I love it, my man. I love it. So that's all you would tell him.
Because it's in the past. We can't change the past.
Yeah.
All we can do is make adjustments for what we did wrong in the fight and see if that makes a difference. A champion's going to be a champion. You have to own the moment, and that's what a champion is really creating.
Tactically, what do you advise if you're Anthony Joshua's coach?
Same thing he did before, just before he stopped on it. Keep on his jab, stay long. Ruiz doesn't have the quick man's game to get inside. Stay long, stay on the outside, pick him apart, chop him down, find that long right hand. Use your jab, keep him at distance, move him around, and as he steps in, fire the right hand and move off again.
Do you think Anthony Joshua's capable of keeping that up for 12 rounds?
Absolutely.
Okay. So, now that we've gotten your thoughts on that, what is your prediction for the fight on Saturday?
See, that's going to be tough because I think I can make my prediction after the second round. Because I want to see where Joshua's mind's at. And also, I want to see where Ruiz's mind is at.
No.
I think that Joshua very well could show us that he's the champion that everybody has thought he would be. But you also got Ruiz, on the other hand, that he's this guy that believes that he can beat him again. And you can't ever take anything away from anybody that is that relentless. And we're going to see how Joshua's moving in that first round and really determine on what's going to happen. My pick,
yeah,
I would love to see Ruiz do it again.
You'd love to see Ruiz do it again.
I would.
Why is that?
I love watching the underdog win because that's what I've had to do my entire career.
I see. But just, objectively speaking, if you were to pick, objectively speaking at this time, who would you favor?
I mean, on paper, it's always going to look like Joshua.
Yeah. I like Joshua too. I actually think he gets it done in the rematch, but I've got it like 55-45 to Joshua though, because I do feel like if Ruiz did it before, he could probably do it again at some point. You know what I mean?
I mean, we saw that Ruiz has power, man, and when he lands, it's a problem. It's not Deontay Wilder power, but it's still a problem.
Yeah, I mean, he's a heavyweight, so I feel like anybody at that weight lands a good punch, especially on your temple, your body's going to go. You know what I mean? That's the way I thought about it anyway. But I also think that if Joshua gets careless and tries trading with Ruiz, he can get hurt because I do feel like Ruiz has a hand speed advantage. Is that something that...
Absolutely, and that's why he needs to stay on the long side of things the entire time. Don't get reckless. Be mindful of your length every time you punch.
For sure. And then they've got Dillian White on the undercard. They've got Filip Hrgović, a bunch of upcoming, heavyweights. They've got Povetkin. He's going to be on the undercard as well. He's more of a veteran. Sort of the who's who of the heavyweight division, like I said, outside of Wilder and Fury. Now, with regard to the Wilder and Fury fight, in the rematch for that one, I'd like to get your take as well. Who do you think wins that fight? And did you watch the first one?
The first one was incredible. I did an interview and I talked about that one. And the funniest thing about Fury going to that 12th round, the only thing you have to do is just don't get killed by one punch. That's all you got to do. Just don't die. You'll be all right. You're coasting your way to a victory. You've done a beautiful performance. 12th round. Just don't die. And he literally got hit with one shot, and he died. Like, this guy died on the canvas, and then he woke up like coffee's on. He was like, oh, coffee's on. I got to get up, and I got to finish this.
Incredible. That was incredible.
The most amazing thing. It was unbelievable. I remember everybody that I was with, and I'm sure this happened across the board, when he got hit by that shot, and he went completely just stiff. Everybody went crazy. Like, oh, my God, I can't believe that happened. And then he just got up. He just got up. It was up, time to go to work. And he went back and finished the fight. It was incredible.
Did you think he won that first fight?
I do.
I would agree with that. And what do you think happens in the next fight between him and Wilder?
I think he beats Wilder. I think he was doing everything right the first time. He knows how to stay away from his power. Here's the thing about Wilder. He's not a technical boxer. He's got incredible power, but for whatever reason, everybody just drifts to his right hand. This is what happened in his last fight. They drift to the right hand.
Yeah.
Fury stayed away from it the entire fight. I think that he's a much more intelligent fighter in the ring than Fury is, and so I think he'll be able to make those adjustments that he just got a little careless with in the 12th round.
Yeah. So what you meant, I guess you meant Fury's more intelligent than Wilder in the ring. That's what you meant?
Yes, 100%.
For sure. No, I agree. I feel like Fury's so erratic as far as his mindset goes. You know what I mean? I don't know if he's doing WWE just to make a little bit of extra money or if he's bored of boxing. You know,
he's having fun.
Yeah.
He's having fun. Tyson Fury is a nutcase. He's a big kid in a very violent man's body.
Yeah, and that's what worries me about him. I always feel like, is he gonna, go do something else? Is he focused on boxing? Because I mean, you're in this, you've been in combat sports your whole life. I mean, focus is a huge part of this thing.
I mean, you watch Lomachenko. He's doing kickboxing pad work now, and he's doing training like that to help him get ready for his fight. I actually like the fact these guys are doing different things to help them get a little bit different approach than the competition. I mean, every sport's doing that stuff. Even baseball, basketball, football players that are in the big league, they're training MMA now to help getting just a little advantage with explosive movement.
As far as the Tyson Fury and Wilder fight goes, there's another thing I wanted to ask you about. Wilder always says, my opponent has to be perfect for 12 rounds. I've only got to be perfect for a couple seconds. What do you think about that approach, and is that correct, or is there something wrong with that mindset, in your opinion?
When it comes to proper fighting, I think it's the wrong mindset. What that basically says is that he's not willing to evolve as a fighter. Even if you look at the way he does his pad work, I mean, it's all power one shot, power one shot, power one shot. The problem is that God touched his hand and was like, I'm going to give you one gift in life, and it is to kill people with this punch. And he's proven it time and time again that if you get touched by that, he has like the hands of God when it hits you. So it's interesting when he says it, but I think it'll be very similar to like when Mike Tyson, when people found out that Mike Tyson was just a man. He wasn't anything to be afraid of. The aura is gone. Then I think it's going to start changing a lot, because I think a lot of people just get knocked out, not only because like he's a hard puncher, but they've also put it in their head that if I get hit, I'm done.
So that fight plays out, and in Chad's world, Fury wins. And I'm not sure who you got in the Ruiz-AJ fight still, but do you think the winner of each one of those fights eventually fights each other?
I think that has to be. It's the only fight that makes sense in the heavyweight division.
The only thing I'm worried about is if Joshua wins, should he not give Andy Ruiz that rubber match? Or do you think if he beats Ruiz, even if it's in convincing fashion, because he got beat convincingly the first time. So if he beats Ruiz,
If he beats Ruiz, I don't think there's money. I don't think there's money in that fight.
You don't think there's money in a third fight between them?
I don't.
I see. So you think he goes after the winner of Wilder Fury after that?
100%.
I like it. I like it. Chad, is there anything else you'd like to say?
No, not really. I mean, it's cool because it's a fun time at heavyweight boxing. We haven't seen this in many years. It brings some of the excitement back that we miss in boxing. Boxing's gotten pretty dry. The excitement hasn't been there, and it's really cool to see it come back to the heavyweight division, which actually is what people have always wanted to see with boxing for many years.
Dude, it's so exciting. I'm so pumped about Saturday. There's so many good heavyweights going to be fighting on that card. One of my favorites, to be honest with you, is Dillian White. And he's going to be fighting on that card against Marius Wack. And he's been angling to fight Deontay Wilder for a very long time. He was the WBC's mandatory for Deontay Wilder for a very long time. And then something happened with some substance that perhaps the British Board of Boxing or whoever it was found in his system. They're in the process of clearing that up. But basically after almost 2 years of this guy being mandatory for Wilder, now he's no longer mandatory. It's crazy. The corruption in boxing and the weirdness drives me nuts. But the fact that the heavyweight division is popping like this is very exciting nonetheless. And I'm really looking forward to it, man. I'm really looking forward to it. Another person that really seems to dig boxing is Coach Jay from the gym.
Oh, Jose?
Yeah, he's a big boxing head, man.
Oh, yeah, no, he's super into it. He's super into it.
That's somebody I'd definitely like to get on the show at some point. But, Chad, I definitely appreciate your time, man, and your perspective. Where can people follow you on social media if they're not doing it already?
You can follow me personally on Instagram at Chad Savage George, but you can also follow my podcast where we talk nothing about the mind, or nothing but the mind, on the Savage Hour. It's on every podcast platform out there, iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, all that kind of good stuff.
Thank you so much for your time, Chad. Really appreciate it. Knuckleheads, ladies and gentlemen, Chad the Savage George. I'll get in touch with you soon, Chad. Appreciate you, brother.
All right, man.
All right, bro. All right, man. Well, there you go, Knuckleheads. Just wanted to get a little bit of perspective from Chad the Savage George, a very focused, very mindset-oriented coach and individual. Been in the fight game for a very long time. He's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. He's the first combat jiu-jitsu world champion, Bellator veteran, WEC veteran before they were bought out by the UFC. Just a really, top-notch guy, and I always appreciate his opinion. We also, I train at his gym, and I see how much emphasis he puts on the whole mindset thing, so it's definitely somebody I wanted to talk to about that sort of thing. We've got Jamaican Boxing and John Wick in the chat. Appreciate you guys joining very much. Jamaican Boxing says, if AJ wins, he'll never fight in America again. He will do all his fights in Liverpool singing Sweet Caroline. That, that's hilarious. And, if that happens, I think he'd lose a lot of respect. But, if Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury fought, and Tyson Fury beat Deontay Wilder, and they were to fight in the UK, Joshua and Fury, then I think if Joshua won that fight, man, he's basically cleaned out the heavyweight division. Not to say that would be his last fight, but he'd be the man, and, nobody could tell him anything. He could probably ask for every fight to be right in Liverpool and swing and sing Sweet Caroline every single night. And I don't think anybody would think twice until they can come and take those belts away from him. So, who knows? Maybe that's Anthony Joshua's mindset going into this thing. John Wick, appreciate you joining the chat, brother. He said, Joshua looked ready. I watched the final press conference, but I think it will be a war for sure. I think it's going to be a good one. I do think, after watching the press conference, I do think Joshua definitely seems a bit nervous. And I did watch the press conference today, but man, he's such an articulate, well thought out, well-spoken guy. He's, he seems really determined. He seems very calm. I mean, they're saying he's on edge. Maybe he's a bit more on edge than usual because obviously, he's got that chip on his shoulder. He wants to show people that, he's the man and that he can beat Andy Ruiz and get his belts back. But, man, yeah, I thought he looked good. Even though he looked a little strange, I thought he looked good overall. I felt like he was talking more than he talks, but he was articulate. But I felt like he was talking more than he usually talks. And he came off ready. And so did Andy Ruiz. Andy Ruiz is a lot less articulate, doesn't talk as much. He came in with his usual, in usual form. I didn't really see anything in the press conference or in the face-off that would indicate to me that anything's really changed all that much. Although I will say I felt like Andy Ruiz looked a little bit uncomfortable during the face-off. It looked like Anthony Joshua was saying some stuff to him, and they were talking back and forth to each other. At the end of it, they shook hands or dapped it up or whatever. But Andy Ruiz looked a little bit uncomfortable up there. I definitely don't think Andy Ruiz is as comfortable with all that attention on him as Anthony Joshua is. But, we'll see what happens Saturday night. At the end of the day, like Regis Prograis said, this is all cool and all, but this doesn't win a fight. And that's not going to win the fight. What's going to win the fight is what happens inside that ring. And I'm really excited to see what happens in Saudi Arabia at the Clash on the Dunes on Saturday. So get your whiskeys ready. We're definitely going to be tuning into that. Jesse Brown, our matchmaker for Fighters Rep, is in the chat. Thank you for joining us, brother. He says, Ruiz is like a raccoon, chubby, but knows how to fight. He wins again. And it seems that a lot of people are in Jesse's corner online, in these forums, on this channel especially. But I want to say that I am in pretty good company because I tuned into The Fight with Teddy Atlas. It's one of the podcasts that I really enjoy watching. And Teddy Atlas agrees with me, I believe, unless I was, hallucinating when I watched it. I was very tired. But Teddy Atlas agrees with me, so I feel like I'm in good company, that Anthony Joshua is going to be able to win this fight. He's going to be able to redeem himself. That story of redemption, which is one of the huge stories, if not the story of this fight, that redemption is going to be what carries the day. It's going to manifest itself, and he believes that Anthony Joshua is going to be able to redeem himself against Andy Ruiz Jr. Now, I agree, but I can see this fight going both ways, as I've said countless times. This is a 55-45 fight in favor of Anthony Joshua. We actually had Regis Prograis who had this 55-45 as well, but the other way. So, it goes to show you how much of a toss-up this fight is. And this is very exciting stuff for boxing when you have a fight with, of this magnitude, with so much on the line, being such a close and hard to predict affair. It's very exciting. Excuse me. So, we've got D-Boy65 in the chat. Thank you for joining the chat, brother. He says, what time does the fight happen in California? So I see that on December 7th which is Saturday. They're going to have the undercard, which is going to be starting at 12 p.m. Eastern. That's 9 p.m. Pacific. So 9 p.m. our time, it looks like, is when the undercard's going to start, or rather 9 a.m. I'm sorry. 9 a.m. our time is when the undercard's going to start. And then Ruiz and Joshua should begin their ring walk at 3:45 p.m. So I would say at about 12:45 p.m., almost 1 p.m., these guys will be walking into the ring. And, the fireworks will start, and the bullets will start raining down here in California as people begin shooting their guns off into the air. So that's what I'm expecting to happen there. But very, very interesting fight, very captivating. I think Anthony Joshua took an extremely devastating loss in that last fight. I think that was a very traumatic experience. From the conspiracy theories that we heard about after the fight with regards to sparring and things that went on before the fight and in the locker room, to him traveling outside of his country and coming to the United States to Madison Square Garden, where it was sold out and there were thousands of British people in the audience screaming for him, and him losing in front of those people to a guy like Andy Ruiz, who to the casual fan just, looks like he hasn't spent a day in the boxing ring. This was a devastating loss. People were comparing this thing to Tyson versus Buster Douglas. And is he going to be able to demonstrate the character of a champion and come back from a loss that was that devastating? On Saturday, we are going to find out, and that is going to be an absolutely fantastic fight. I'm really excited about it. Another thing I wanted to discuss with you guys before we get off is the undercard. Man, there's some really, really exciting fights on the undercard, fights that I'm looking forward to. We've got, let's see here, there's going to be a super featherweight fight between Scott Quigg and John O'Carroll. I'm not sure who John O'Carroll is, but Scott Quigg is a guy that I've seen fight before, a very tough guy, and he's always in a good fight. We've got Dillian White, who is one of my personal favorite heavyweights. He's going to be going up against Marius Wack, and I'm not sure if you guys saw Dillian White on his IFL interview that I believe was uploaded today. But absolutely freaking hilarious. Dillian White calling Deontay Wilder a black hillbilly. I couldn't believe he was saying that. But it was just absolutely hilarious. Calling him out, telling him he's stupid, saying this guy's an idiot. What is he doing? Not taking the fight against me. What is he doing? Not taking the fight against Joshua. He would have gotten more money than he's ever going to make against Ruiz, and also calling out Deontay Wilder's level of competition. And if you ask me, as much as I love Deontay Wilder, and I like Dillian White and Wilder the same as my favorite heavyweights at this time, if you ask me, Dillian White, I think, is correct in saying that Deontay Wilder made a mistake in not taking that fight against Anthony Joshua. Look, now he's going up against Ruiz for the second time in Saudi Arabia for $85 million or something like that. A lot of money on the line, and a lot of money was left on the table by Deontay Wilder. And even to fight Dillian White, a lot of money was left on the table. I believe Deontay Wilder would have made more money fighting Dillian White than he's made in his entire career. So I think Dillian White calling Wilder stupid, for lack of a better word, for not taking the fights against him and Joshua is correct. I don't agree with, all of the other mean-spirited stuff he said. I wouldn't get into that. But he's right. He's right. Deontay Wilder would have made a lot more money. Of course, there would have been much more risk. There would have been much riskier fights, because if you ask me, Dillian White is a lot better a lot better than pretty much anybody on Deontay Wilder's resume outside of Tyson Fury. I think Dillian Whyte is definitely more of a fight for Deontay Wilder than Luis Ortiz would be, especially in the rematch. Dillian Whyte several times during his interview, and rightfully so, said that, name me 4 people that Luis Ortiz has fought outside of outside of Deontay Wilder. And the interviewer, Kugan Cassius, just couldn't really name anybody that Luis Ortiz had fought. And yes, he was an Olympic, gold medalist or whatever he was, a massive amateur career in the Cuban program. But professionally, he really hadn't fought anybody. And even then, he was winning every single round of that fight until, he got switched off. Now, Dillian Whyte says Luis Ortiz mentally switches off, and that's why he lost. I don't know if that's the reason. Perhaps Deontay Wilder was just able to finally catch him because of his own doing. But whatever it was, I think it's inconsequential, because what Dillian Whyte is saying is correct. Deontay Wilder didn't fight the best guys. Luis Ortiz has fought nobody outside of Deontay Wilder. Nobody that anybody's really heard of unless they're a hardcore boxing fan. And, Luis Ortiz was really old. I think Dillian Whyte called him 60. I think he said he was 60, which I thought was hilarious. But they have him listed at 40. I don't think so. I don't think he's 40. I think he's more like 50. And so for people to say that, Deontay Wilder's fighting the best guys, or for people to kind of pretend that that's what's happening here, I think it's a disservice to boxing. He's extremely exciting. I love the fact that he knocks people out with one punch. But you've got the who's who in the heavyweight division, or a few of them at least, fighting at this Saudi Arabia event, and Wilder and Fury are nowhere to be found. Fury's no better than Wilder at this point. He's just fighting whoever the hell. I don't know who the guys are that Fury is fighting, to be honest with you. But that Luis Ortiz fight, I was not impressed at all from the time that Luis Ortiz rematch was announced. And Deontay Wilder, I felt like over and over again was trying to convince us that Luis Ortiz is a dangerous guy. I think he was a dangerous guy. I don't think he's a dangerous guy anymore. I think a dangerous guy is Dillian Whyte. I think a dangerous guy is Alexander Usyk. I think a dangerous guy is Filip Hrgović, who's going to be on the undercard against Eric Molina for the WBC International Heavyweight Championship. I think a dangerous guy is even Alexander Povetkin, or the guy he's fighting, Michael Hunter, on the undercard at heavyweight. Those are the guys, and I know Povetkin was on Wilder's list to fight and got popped. But, Joseph Parker, Carlos Takam, Derek Chisora. There's so many guys that I would have preferred Deontay Wilder to fight, and it won't happen. And it's very frustrating for me that Deontay Wilder hasn't gotten these guys in the ring. But, this is boxing politics. This is what we call out all the time. Who knows? It might not even be Deontay Wilder's fault a lot of the times. It's their promoters or advisors or whoever that are kind of directing their careers and preventing us from determining who's actually the best fighter. And I guess that's what they do, But let's get back to the undercard. Alexander Povetkin versus Michael Hunter. Filip Hrgović versus Eric Molina. Dillian Whyte versus Marius Wack. Scott Quick, John O'Carroll. Fun fights. And 3 heavyweight bouts leading up. 3 heavyweight bouts leading up to the big heavyweight bout between Ruiz and Joshua. So essentially 4 heavyweight bouts in a row on the main card. And if you're a boxing fan, man, you've got to be happy with that. Game Bread Fight TV says, "What's up, George? What's up, brother? How you doing? Appreciate you being on the chat, my man." Ralph de la Arcadia says, Anthony has become soft with his fame, no hunger. Andy is going to win. And Ralph, that could be, you could be 100% spot on with that one, brother. I think it's a close fight. I thought that Joshua was winning up until he got dropped in the third round. I thought he was doing well. I thought he made a mistake. And Andy Ruiz capitalized on that mistake, as he should have, and won the fight. But I think if Anthony Joshua fights smart, he'll be able to take this one. Jamaican Boxing says, yeah, White was right. Well, this is interesting, Jamaican Boxing. First off, you've changed your name back to Jamaican Boxing, which I appreciate very much. And thank you for, being one of my moderators and coming back to the chat as Jamaican Boxing. But it's interesting to me that you say White is right, because, I know he's your Jamaican brother, but, I feel like you've kind of been on the fence about him. The fact that you're telling me he's right now, I feel like you've come over to the dark side with me, and you've found the light that Dillian White is the man, dude. He just keeps it 100. He just wants to fight everybody. He's got a real fighter's mentality, and he was so right. I mean, how do you even argue against the guy? You turned down $100 million, Deontay Wilder. Why would you do that? Why would you do that? I would have done whatever I needed to do to make sure that contract was okay and that I was going to get that fight if I was Deontay Wilder for $100 million. I mean, I would do. You guys don't even want to know what I would do for $100 million. I don't get it, you guys. I just don't get it. Let's see here. John Wick says, damn, it's going to be a early day Saturday. LOL. Got to pick refreshments. LOL. Doing that Friday, man. I wish we could all see each other after the fight. We are. We're going to be right here, brother. Get your refreshments ready. I'm going to have my whiskey ready. We're going to sit here and we're going to talk about the fight immediately after it happens. And it's going to be awesome. Saudi Arabia, man. How much fun is that going to be? I mean, I don't know. I like to see new places, and I wouldn't mind having flown out there to watch the fight with a group of knuckleheads. It would have been a lot of fun. But, man, you probably can't even buy beers out there. Who knows? Jamaican Boxing said, he said Wilder's a basketball player. He's so hilarious. He should change his name to Dillian Black. Bro, that guy is so funny, my man. I can listen to Dillian White talk all day long, and he's hilarious. But the more hilarious thing about it is he's being 100% real. That's the funny thing. His delivery is hilarious, and the fact that he's being honest in his delivery, it just makes it better, man. It just makes it better. Lost Survivor, thank you so much for joining the chat. Please subscribe, hit that bell notification icon if you haven't already. He says, White fighting WEC, who's coming back from 3 consecutive losses and will be 40 week after fight. Yeah, Lost Survivor, that's right, but White is getting called in with 2 weeks' notice, and he's doing it just to stay active, because who else is he going to fight? I mean, who wants to fight Dillian White? He's been sitting there calling out everybody. He's been sitting there calling out everybody. He's been calling out Anthony Joshua, Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury, and all of these guys don't want to fight Dillian White. They don't want to fight him. And he's been calling them out. He's been doing what he has to do. So, yeah, of course he's going to take a fight just to stay active. He's not going to be sitting on the shelf and allowing himself to get all rusty and messed up. Of course, you got to stay active if you want to be a good fighter. You know what I mean? So that doesn't mean nothing, He'll be 40 a week after the fight. Well, I mean, did you see Luis Ortiz? The guy's like 50, man. The guy's 50, and Deontay Wilder had just knocked him out. I mean, that is a joke of a fight. But Dillian White deciding to stay active, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, especially considering the fact that he's been calling out everybody. He's called out everybody. So, whatever. I'm just trying to call a spade here. I think Dillian Whyte is the realest guy in the heavyweight division. He's down to fight whoever. Jamaican Boxing says he was right about Deontay Wilder not taking the $100 million and not fighting good competition. Remember, Wilder's my heavyweight, but I'm not biased. You should do it so we can call in after the fight. So you guys want to be able to call in after the fight? Yeah, I mean, we could definitely do that now that we got this program. We can definitely do that. You guys just have to hit me up on Skype. I believe it's Fighters Rep on Skype, and we can get you guys on. Let's see here. D-Boy65 says there are rumors Ruiz might take a dive for a big paycheck. Well, I mean, I think they already know what they're gonna get paid. So let's see here. So I wanted to see what the purses are. I believe it's like $85 million and $10 million. Yeah, so Joshua's going to be earning $85.7 million US dollars. So I guess 66 million pounds or whatever you guys use over there across the pond. And Andy Ruiz, $10 million. $10 million. And, that's crazy to me that Andy Ruiz is actually going to be earning less than that much less than Anthony Joshua, considering he's the champ now. But he's definitely not bringing in the same amount of fans, I don't think, as Anthony Joshua. But damn, that's crazy. That's a huge difference. 85 million? Almost 86 million versus 10 million. Hey, I'd be happy with 10 million. I don't think Deontay Wilder's ever made $10 million in any fight. Let's see. Deontay, oh my God. Let's see what Deontay Wilder's purse was for the Luis Ortiz fight. Something I'm looking up now for you guys. I see that he made, let me see, around 20 million. Oh, okay. Okay, so Wilder, when he beat Ortiz in their first meeting, let's see. Okay. Who knows? Who knows what was actually made? I don't know, but yeah, Deontay Wilder's he's really thrown a lot of money, and I guess he was guaranteed 20 million. So it looks like he was guaranteed 20 million in that rematch with Ortiz, but honestly, I don't see where that money's coming from, because he's not generating the fan base of an Anthony Joshua or really of any of these guys, you know what I mean? So if I was him, man, I would have taken that fight with Joshua for $100 million and split that shit in two. That's what I would have done. Let's see here. Lost Survivor. Here we go. If you call it a spade, White rejected AJ rematch for more money, but he wants to fight everyone. Regardless of how much the zone offer was, both Wilder and White rejected fight for cash. Not sure what you mean by that. If White rejected an AJ rematch straight away, maybe after their fight, then that's understandable because he had just lost. But, are you telling me that Dillian Whyte doesn't want to fight everybody? I mean, because that's not the sentiment that I'm getting from Dillian Whyte. What I'm getting from Dillian Whyte is he wants to fight everybody, and nobody wants to fight him. And I think he's been angling and posturing for a fight for a very long time, and nobody wants to give it to him. So I don't know. That's That's the way I see it. I'm laughing because what Jamaican boxing is written here. Jamaican boxing, you are tripping out, my man. He says Wilder's biggest payday is 500 Alabamian dollars. I'm not gonna lie, he messed up when he didn't take that 100 million 3-fight deal. I agree, man. That's ridiculous, bro. Why would you not take that? Why would you not allow Eddie Hearn, Fast Car Eddie, Big Money Eddie, to promote you into superstardom? I don't get it. I don't get it. I really don't get it. Lost Survivor says, wasn't straight away. He was supposed to fight AJ instead of Miller. Who are we talking about here? Who fought Miller? Nobody fought Miller. I'm really Lost Survivor. So please explain this to me, brother. Maybe I'm, a little bit slow today. But Jamaican boxing, 500 Alabamian dollars. Oh man, you're a Jamaican boxing. You're ridiculous, bro. You're ridiculous. Knuckleheads, we've been on for almost an hour. That's all I've got for you guys today. I appreciate you guys joining me. Supporting the channel, supporting Chad. Let me see here. What do you think of fanboys saying Waters replacing Canelo as new face of boxing? Oh my goodness, D-Boy65. Please tell me that nobody's saying that. That's really crazy if anybody's saying that, my man. Because I don't know. I mean, look, the reason that you can't even say that, it's not because Deontay Wilder isn't awesome. Deontay Wilder's an awesome guy, man. He's a great fighter. He's an awesome guy. But, I had Regis Prograis on the channel at the last one on Monday. We had him here live interviewing him. And he said that the 20,000 person stadium where he fought Josh Taylor, I think it's the O2 Arena, 20,000 people sold out for Regis Prograis and Josh Taylor. Now, can Deontay Wilder in the United States, I mean, even Regis Prograis was saying, if I come to the United States and I fight Josh Taylor, there's no way that I fill up a 20,000 person stadium. So it's not Deontay Wilder's fault. Although it partially is. It's the culture in the United States of boxing. It's the corruption of boxing, especially in the United States. It's, it's his promoter. They just haven't pushed him right. They just haven't pushed him right. And the culture is not there in order for him to be the face of boxing. There's no way without a Mexican fan base or without a British fan base that you're the face of boxing. You just can't be. You just can't do it, especially at this time. Now, things can always turn around. And maybe somebody finally gets this thing right and we start seeing the best fight the best. And the reputation of boxing in the United States improves and the fans improve. But we just don't have the fan base for any one of our American fighters at this time, in my opinion, to be the face of boxing. That's what I think. Lost Survivor. White was supposed to rematch AJ. Then he rejected and Miller got the fight. Miller popped and then we got Ruiz. I think it was something about the timing, though, right? I mean, I don't remember why he rejected, but I thought it was maybe something about the timing. But either way, I think White would fight. He would fight AJ on Saturday if he could. I don't know. That's just the way I'm seeing it. If you see it differently, let me know if you're seeing it differently. D-Boy65 says it's true. They call themselves new media in YouTube. Oh, I think I know what you're talking about. But, that's a very racially charged movement. Here's the problem with being a racially or ethnically inclined anything, especially when it comes to boxing, the media. When there's a corrupt system like we have in boxing, we've had it forever, you don't fix the corruption by placing the corruption in somebody else's hands. You can't fix a corrupt system with more corruption. The only way to resolve boxing and boxing media and anything to do with boxing is you have to be objective. You have to be a neutral, objective observer. It's best for everybody. It's best for the fans. It's best for the fighters. It's best for everybody. Sometimes it's not best for the promoters to be neutral because they're short-sighted. They think it's not best for them to be neutral because they're short-sighted. But it is best for the promoters even to be neutral. Like myself as a promoter, I think of myself as being neutral. Because I know that if I'm not neutral, it hurts the reputation not only of the promotion, but of the sport itself. And that's the long game that you have to look at and play. You can't be short-sighted and look at the short-term consequences. Oh, if I get this guy over, I'll make a little bit more money. Fuck it. No, you can't be that way. If you want the sport to grow and evolve and become something better and become something great, the way you've seen Dana White do with the UFC, you have to think long-term. The best must fight the best. We can't keep suckering the fans. We can't keep lying to the fans and giving them bullshit excuses. And old media, new media, it's tomato. You know, one is, full of shit for one reason. One is full of shit for another reason, but both are full of shit. So you need to, that's why I call this the only objective channel on YouTube, because I'm objective. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I tell you guys I'm wrong. I got Joshua winning on Saturday. If he loses, and I got him winning because I think he's going to win, not because I want him to win. I want Ruiz. I don't know who I want to win. I prefer Ruiz. I'm in California. I got to go with the Cali boys now. But I'd be happy if either guy wins. But, objectively speaking, I think Joshua wins. I'm not doing it because I'm biased. I don't care. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, I don't care. And I especially don't care where you come from, what you look like. Because, look, I don't even look like my brother. I don't even look like my father. I don't even look like my mother. I mean, it's 2019, people. I mean, come on, it's 2019. You're still talking about this shit? These politicians made it a thing. Again, these fucking corrupt politicians made it a thing. This personal politic thing. It's crazy to me. I grew up in Miami, Florida. And let me tell you, we didn't even talk about this stuff when I was growing up I was born, early 80s, grew up in the 90s. We didn't talk about this stuff. We were all just hanging out. We didn't care about this stuff, They're talking about it more now in 2019 than when I was a kid growing up in Miami, where there were very few Caucasians, very few, unless they were like Hispanic or, whatever. Very, 1% where I lived, 0.5%. And I don't know what the hang up is. I mean, it's 2019. I don't know. I can't figure it out. I can't figure out why. I've had people come on this channel and leave comments on my channel telling me I'm biased. Or no, my favorite was the other day. Some guy said I had inferior genetics. I had inferior genetics because of my race. It's madness. I mean, I thought Nazi Germany got, wiped out after World War II. I mean, there's crazies. There's crazies on YouTube. There are crazy people on YouTube with the same mentality. What do you even say to something like that? So, I mean, if that's supposed to convince me, if that kind of mentality is supposed to convince me to, I don't know, prefer one boxer over another, then I'm good, man. I'm good with that. I'd rather make my own judgments based on what I'm seeing, and I rather treat people based on how they treat me on an individual basis. I'm not a bitter, ex-girlfriend that drags baggage around with her. I'm just not that guy. So as long as you guys keep coming here, and no matter what you guys say, unless it's over the top crazy, like some of these people that come into the channel once in a while or leave comments that I'm telling you about, that you have inferior genetics and all this crazy personal politic and racial crap. As long as you come in here and you're cool, man, I don't care what you guys say. You could disagree with me all day long. It's not a problem. I just enjoy talking. I enjoy having a place and giving people a space to talk about this stuff without them feeling like they're going to get kicked out or discarded just because of, that they have a different opinion or they look different, or it's just ridiculous. Come on, guys. It's 2019. It's almost 2020. I think you guys see it my way. But anyway, I'll stop with that. That was a waste of time. Jamaican Boxing says, only God knows what I do for 100 mil. Psh, you and me both, brother. You and me both. Law Survivor says, vid on second out. Eddie Hearn discussing White rejecting 3 times his regular purse for AJ fight. White rejected fight for more money, not timing. Maybe that's what happened. Maybe I'm wrong, man. Maybe I'm wrong. Says, anyway, thanks for the good stream. Wins the next one. Lost Survivor, appreciate you very much. Hit the subscribe button, the bell notification icon. We do this Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We go live at 7 p.m. We do it every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday live at 7 p.m. Pacific, because I'm in Los Angeles. And we go live immediately after the big fights. So on Saturday, we'll be going live immediately after the Anthony Joshua, Andy Ruiz fight. Of course, it's in Saudi Arabia. Pretty excited about that. I think that's kind of cool that they're, spreading the sport into uncharted territory, and should be a good time. Calculated risk. I'm about to get off, brother, but I appreciate you jumping on. Says, how are you doing, Fighters Rep and everyone? I'm doing great. Jamaican Boxing, my brother, appreciate you very much, man. You guys have a great one. I got to get off. It's already been over an hour, and my people downstairs are about to go crazy on me. But you guys have a great one. I appreciate you guys. Let your friends know about the chat. Let your people know about the chat. I want this channel to grow. I want to continue to build a community here for all of us to talk about, combat sports. And by being here, by donating and purchasing anything or donating in the links below, you guys are helping me build Fighters Rep Promotions. We're the only kickboxing promotion in the whole state of California. Man, one of the few in the whole United States. It's so pathetic that, I'm one of the only kickboxing promoters in the United States, but whatever. And if anybody ever wants to sponsor, you want a tax write-off, you got a big company, you want to come get a VIP table, whatever, it's a tax write-off and it helps the sport. We're happy to, accept sponsors as well. But anyway, you guys have a great one. We'll see you. Actually, we're going to be on Friday, and then the fight is on Saturday. So we'll see you on Friday. Until then, keep it clean, knuckleheads.